Singapore companies now have a new pathway to enter the US market. A government agency office has been set up in San Francisco, focused on helping them establish a foothold in the Bay Area. Now, it's Enterprise Singapore's third office in the United States. Loong tells us more.
It's the iconic Highway 101, the main street for Silicon Valley's office parks. Among many prominent global tech companies there is this biotech firm, representing Singapore at the heart of the tech hub.
So Loong is a company focused on earlier cancer detection through blood testing. Setting up in Silicon Valley was a very natural progression for the company in bringing its technology for blood testing for cancer to not only from Asia to American cancer patients.
While research and development still largely takes place in Singapore, Mr. Tan says the company benefits from the culture and technical talent the Bay Area offers. Catering to a US market also helps put them on the global map.
Being here is really about benchmarking the technology we have invented in Singapore against the best in the world.
Singapore is trying to help more local companies do the same with the launch of a new Enterprise Singapore office to help them land and grow here.
They can come to us for all their needs, whether it is looking for potential partners, looking to help navigate the regulatory hurdles, looking for additional space. We have the connections and the network here to help them.
And it's not just for tech firms. The office will focus on sectors such as advanced manufacturing, clean energy, and transportation as well. All this comes amid concerns over San Francisco's status as a top tech hub, with more companies moving out and venture capitalists leaving. Emptied out and up for rent, these spaces have become a shell of the business district's former self, which was thriving before the pandemic. But it's not just retail. These sidewalks used to be packed with tech workers who have now either moved or work from home. But Enterprise Singapore says this is not a concern.
The San Francisco economy extends way beyond the San Francisco city itself, to the universities, to the Bay Area, to the Greater Bay Area. That's where a lot of innovation, a lot of talent, a lot of capital is being deployed. And so that's what our main interest will be, rather than the city itself.
At the office's launch event, Singapore Prime Minister Hsien Loong says it's still important to engage with countries like the US, despite a more complex global environment.
But we are hopeful that despite these trends, America will maintain and even strengthen its relationship with Asia and the rest of the world. Because countries, even big countries, still need to do business and trade with one another, not just for our collective prosperity, but also because trade is an important facet of international cooperation and peace. And for small economies like Singapore, small and open, we have no choice but to push ahead with doing business with the world.
PM Lee says Singapore has to continue to do its best to advance cooperation, and San Francisco is an important place to do so, as it has the ability to elevate startups to the global stage. Loong, CNA, San Francisco.
PM Lee also met with more than 500 Singaporeans living in and around the Bay Area. He tells them that the United States and Singapore can work together in many aspects, even if they have different perspectives on what's happening in the world. He hopes that more interactions between Singaporeans and Americans can help both countries cooperate better.
And for more on how Singapore firms can get a leg up in Silicon Valley, we have with us on Zoom from San Francisco, the Executive Director of Enterprise Singapore, Mr. Clarence Ho. Mr. Ho, thanks very much for joining us this evening. You know, we already have, or Enterprise Singapore already has, 2 offices in the US. You've got one in New York, another in LA. Why the need for a third one in San Francisco?
Hi, good evening to everyone, and good morning here in the United States. US and Singapore has a strong economic relationship, and it continues to grow. In fact, when you talk about Singapore's investment into US, Singapore continues to be one of the top 3 Asian investors into the US. Likewise, in terms of trade, we continue to have US being our 3rd largest trading partner, and they are also our largest investor into Singapore. Enterprise Singapore has also helped 40% more companies when compared to 2019, helping them to look at opportunities and partnerships with the US in order to therefore cater to strong Singapore companies' interests. We're looking to US for new technology, new innovation, as well as a market. We definitely need more resources and boots on the ground, and hence we decided to set up a new overseas center here in the US. Happy to say that it's in sunny San Francisco.
Mr. Ho, Enterprise Singapore's track record with helping startups is very clear, it's very well documented. That centre there in San Francisco, explain to us how it's going to give Singapore firms that edge to break into an area as competitive as Silicon Valley.
San Francisco Bay Area is indeed still one of the largest economies when compared to other cities within the United States. It is also a leading epicenter for innovation globally, and it continues to show that it can, given the evolving change that we have seen happen all throughout the world. And these have been areas of technology, especially as you can see in agri-tech, in healthcare, biomedical, as just now you have heard from Lucens, as also in the area of AI. All of us have heard of OpenAI, ChatGPT as one of the key applications, technology that has really transformed the way that we work and we have lived. And we continue, therefore, to want to be plugged into this ecosystem to be able to share new insights. What are the new technologies? What are the new innovation? And where to look for them? And therefore, our companies from Singapore can therefore also improve their capabilities by partnering with them and look at expanding into US as well as globally.
Right, so you mentioned tech and innovation a couple of times there. Is there any sense that this new office could go even beyond that, looking at new areas perhaps?
Oh, for sure. When we look at tech and innovation, definitely has to be also with a market in mind. We are actively looking out for really some of the key needs that we've seen in the San Francisco Bay Area coming up. Clean energy, very important, because there's a great emphasis on climate change. We've seen them developing a lot of new electric vehicles, infrastructure to support that. There are plans to actually build offshore wind capacity. They're looking at energy storage systems to be able to ensure they have clean energy as well. And I think this is a great opportunity for our Singapore company. We also see that they look at the area of digitalization. How do you adopt new technologies to be able to enhance productivity? Therefore, IoT, AI, data analytics will be key enablers, but also key areas that our Singapore companies who have developed solutions and technology in this area can also look to enter into the US market. I also recently, not too long ago, brought a group of consumer companies into the US to look at opportunities to expand and to scale. And lastly, manufacturing. We've heard a lot on US plans to look at increasing their ability to have supply chain resilience. Therefore, they need to build up their manufacturing capacity. And hence, our manufacturing companies here will also get a chance to look at growing together with the US market demand.
Resilience, Mr. Ho, also means startups need to think about venturing overseas. This is something that we've talked about a lot for startups here in Singapore, in the ecosystem here. The Silicon Valley has a long track record there, a strong ecosystem. Are there enough Singapore companies that actually want to expand into Silicon Valley? It's a long way away. Are you finding that Enterprise Singapore still has to even encourage local firms to sort of think about dreaming big in that way?
That's a very good question. Well, first of all, I think Singapore companies do have aspiration to grow. Our role is really to encourage them to do so. And we've seen that there are increasing number of companies who wants to do so. It's quite natural for some of our companies that we encounter to look at the nearby region of South Asia. And that is also a very important market. Likewise, also you can look at China, you can look at India. Each market therefore offers very distinct opportunities. And I think it really depends on our company's business strategy to see where they want to go. For those that are looking a bit further away, like to US, I guess they are also aware of the market demand, the profile, and our companies continue to say they want to come. But of course, it's not as large volume of companies that have said so. They also recognize the market here is hyper competitive. It has a high cost structure, and therefore they do need to do their due diligence, review their business strategy, and therefore then make the decision to see if US offers them really the right market, and then they can decide to come in later. And that's where I think Enterprise Singapore plays a very important role as well. Now with presence on the ground, we are then able to continue to be really feeling the pulse, getting the latest information, sharing the insight that we've received on what has developed, then able to establish new connections to partners, to projects, to facilitators, to consultants, to legal, to lawyers. And then that will also help to make the entry of our Singapore companies much easier and less risky.
Definitely lots for our Singapore companies to think about. Thanks very much, Mr. Ho, for joining us bright and early from San Francisco. We've been speaking there with Clarence Ho from Enterprise Singapore.